sugar. Oh, honey, honey.
Welcome back to the Jennifer Hammond Show on SiriusXM UrbanView.
Girl, and you got me wanting you. Honey.
Welcome back. This is Jennifer Hammond, and I love helping you make good decisions in real estate. It's so much fun. I love that we've done this series for a long time about how can you improve your neighborhood. In one way or another, we always improve our neighborhoods the more we get involved and the more we help each other. And so our neighborhoods, as you know, nothing in this universe stays the same. It's either getting better or it's getting worse. So what are you doing to contribute to it getting better? So my next guest is helping in such a beautiful way. And so you've probably heard her before, Nancy Silberkleit. She is a CEO or co-CEO of Archie Comics. She proudly stands behind graphic literacy to be a spark in opening up conversations about difficult topics. Nancy most recently introduced a new character to Archie Comics named Scarlet, the first autistic character in the Archie Comics series. So welcome to the show, Nancy.
Zam, wham, wow, Jennifer, and to your audience, and thank you for always playing our hit song, Sugar, Sugar. It just gets me in the mood, and I hope it does the same to your community out there.
Yay! I love it when we can have music inspire us. It's always important. And so I know many people know who you are, but I would love to start with just a little bit about your background. Would you tell a little bit about your story and how did you get to be co-CEO of Archie Comics?
Well, absolutely. And the first thing, it took a lot of guts. Sadly, my husband, Archie Comics has always been a family business owned by two families, the Silberkleits and the Goldwaters. And sadly, my husband's business partner, Richard Goldwater, passed away, and then shockingly, my husband, Michael Silberkleit, passed away. And
sorry.
Something that, as you were talking about, in the world, sometimes things are good, sometimes things are bad. That was just, beyond just horrible and shocking and sad. So at that time, I was a school teacher, and I was left half of the company to oversee. But, know what you know and know what you don't know, I always say.
Right, stay in your lane, I know.
And I was, a school teacher, and I just felt everybody there, even though there was no leadership, would just know how to put out those Archie books. But that's not how it went. So I was asked to come in as a co-CEO with another person that represented the other side, my partner, John B. Goldwater. And so we went in, but I can tell you and your audience, at that time, I thought the bar of business, the bar of Archie was way over my head. And it really took a lot for me to say yes, and it was a very quiet yes with a lot of internal turmoil with me taking on that path. But Jennifer, and to your audience, it's been 10 years. And
Yay!
I look back.
10 years.
Yes, and I want all the teachers who are listening out there to hear this and contact me, because I enjoy letting teachers around the globe know this. I was overqualified. I did not know that. I did not see it in my crystal ball at the time. But I look back now, and I see that it was my job for 25 years to get information to individual minds in a way they could grasp what I was presenting as a teacher. The same for the person in that business seat. It is my job to connect the brand to the people. And there's so many other correlations. It's my time there has been extremely challenging, but the same for a teacher. Every time they walk into that classroom, they're always challenged. There's someone who didn't have enough to eat for breakfast, or siblings may, be having some bullying going on, or there may be other issues, or they just are not interested in that particular subject. So, it was my job as a teacher to always be able to work with those personalities and make sure I could propel the information that I wanted them to embrace. And also engagement. A teacher needs to be skilled in engagement. So that's why I'm here, Jennifer, because I'd like to engage your audience in, what I'm doing at Archie. But, to leave your teachers out there knowing that they are so qualified to go do anything they want because they have the teaching skills under their belt.
I appreciate that. It's so important. Teachers, one of my favorite people who called in, and she knows who she is. She was a teacher for 40 years, and she's so cute. She said that she loves my show because every Saturday morning she gets a piece of paper out and a pen, and she sits with her coffee and she makes notes. And the thing is we're always learning, and I love that you said that. A teacher can become anything they want in life, and so often we have the tendency to invalidate ourselves and think that we're not good enough, or we don't know enough, or that challenge is too big for us. That's not me. And I think it's so important that we continue to help each other and give that hand out. Anytime, reach out to help somebody when they need help and when they're ready to make a tough decision, like trying a completely new job or a completely new career that you've always wanted to do. I think as adults, a lot of times we become a little too, comfortable in whatever we're doing, and we don't get on to the next thing. And sometimes life takes a sudden right turn, and it's time to challenge yourselves and feel comfortable. You can do it. It's going to be okay.
And another thing about teachers, they have the utmost patience. I mean, that is required when you're dealing with young people. So, people who are looking to hire someone, look at those applications where they have teacher down and have classroom time experience. And for, those people who are looking to make changes, never question if you can. Only question, why would you ever think you cannot? Because I was questioning myself 10 years ago, but when I look back, I had no reason to. I was overqualified.
Yeah, and that's so important to be able to validate all of the most amazing, incredible, aspects that we all have more than we acknowledge in ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that I love when you're doing these. And I want to talk about Scarlett, the new character, is, so often we invalidate the things that we are very talented and we are good enough and we can do what we want to do this life. It's so important to validate that in our friends. And of course, one of the things that we want to talk about now is in our children. So talk about Archie Comics, the series, and you have this new character, which is the first autistic character in Archie Comics, Scarlett.
Yes, and when you say series, I want to let your fans know that Archie Comics has a TV show, Riverdale, and we also have another intellectual property, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's the chilling tales of Sabrina, two of the hottest shows going on, talked about around the globe. So tune in.
But I watched Riverdale. Riverdale's on CW, right? It's on the CW. Because I watched most. And I was going to say I watch everything on Netflix now because I love on demand. But and Riverdale is so interesting, and I love the way that it's done because it talks a lot about very modern themes and things that are challenging kids now, from bullying to gangs. I mean, it takes on some pretty intense themes. So Riverdale TV show, but I haven't seen Sabrina.
It's the Archie formula. Archie formula, taking a bunch of kids in high school, creating a little chaos, but always reflecting what's going on in that decade. So with our character in the classic comics, I have put Scarlett there. She's not in the TV shows. I hope that the writers are listening, because I think it would be great to have a character who's autistic. So Scarlett is in the classic stories, and Scarlett is autistic. Scarlett, sometimes her behaviors can be part of being autistic. People may exclude her or make fun of her because, Jennifer, they do not understand her behaviors, or they do not understand her autistic behaviors. And Scarlett is one of millions of autistic people around the globe, around the world. And they're all unique, but they have some things in common. So I wanted to bring out how Scarlett fixates on always wearing flowered shoes. So I have a new story coming out called Flower Feet that will be ready, towards the springtime. We're almost there. And it's just opening up that platform for conversation on people's different behaviors. So autism is part of Scarlett, and I want people to look at her ability to focus as something to be admired, something to be one of her superpowers. So it's a story like this that helps spark the conversation on embracing one's behaviors, one's autistic behaviors. So that's where I'm going with Scarlett.
Well, I think it's so important what you just said is using, what sometimes people would think is a weakness as their superpower. Because again, looking at life through different viewpoints can completely change the way you live your life, but also the way that you celebrate others, whoever they are. If they're different from you, you may not have thought about, I love the old Indian saying of, have you walked a mile in that person's moccasins? Have you seen what they see and what they feel? And I think Archie Comics does that very well in looking at it and trying to figure out how can we really look at it and look at a different way that we maybe had a misconception, and now we're going to be able to correct that and look at it very differently. So how have the readers reacted to the introduction of Scarlett?
Well, I first want to say I think it's really cool to be able to bring topics like this into Archie Comics, kind of about autism. And also, going further, learning it from trusted resources and other, kind of stuff, instead of believing, rumors and stereotypes. So I have had many autistic people. I have a new friend in Kentucky, Jennifer, who has reached out to me. She's autistic. I have Diane in Syracuse, and I have, I think it's Chicago, a wonderful person named Jason Harris. He has a organization called jasonsconnection.org, and I have reached out to Jason when my talented writers, the person who wrote Flower Feet is Dan Collins from Canada. So when I have these projects, I call on Jason, say, what do you think about this? Should I put in this or that? And Jason had brought to my attention the word neurodiversity. So that's another word that's trending in the autistic community, that sometimes they don't want to be on the spectrum, and they're using neurodiverse. But I hear many different ways, but I like, autistic. Autism is part of me, and I enjoy when I hear people getting to the point. Autism is part of me. And then you go on, just how Scarlett's going on, putting herself in these stories. So the outreach has been amazing, and the person penciling Scarlett, Fernando Ruiz, has done an amazing job. So it's my team and the fans that have really propelled this conversation.
Yeah, and I think it's so important, as you said, you're being so responsive to how people are interacting with Scarlett, but also it helps you with the future. So will you talk a little bit about, so I know you can't help it, Nancy. I know you're thinking about the future. What are some of the pertinent topics that you would like to see Archie Comics tackle in the future?
Well, I leave it out there to the people. I say this brand is one of those brands that belong to the people. So, I'll give you my email, and I'm always happy to hear from our fans of, what they would like to see. And my email is nancy.archie, nancy.archiecomics@gmail.com. And these particular stories...
Okay, Nancy, you have to say that twice if you want people to actually remember it.
nancy.archiecomics with an S @gmail.com. nancy.archiecomics with an S at comics @gmail.com. So these stories with Scarlett, her first one is Kindness Works, and then the second one was Straw Thinking, that is touching upon our environment conversations, and this one is Flower Feet. So where we are going with Scarlett is, just connecting with the people to spark those conversations. And I do like hearing back from people such as I mentioned, Jason Harris just heard about it, connected, contacted me, and now I'm connected to his organization, jasonsconnection.org.
Oh, that's so nice. And I love when we can either make our neighborhoods better or we can allow them to get worse. And I love that Jason is helping get them to make our neighborhoods better. And I love that you're doing it too, that you keep on helping in so many ways. I really, really appreciate it. So we're just about out of time. I want to make sure that again, you give people your email, but also where can people read Scarlett Comics now? And also, of course, your social media, your website, any of that stuff that you're willing to give out, Nancy.
Okay, well, Scarlett is available in a PDF through PayPal, and again, they put in nancy.archiecomics with an S at the end of comics @gmail.com. It's $1.99, and always go to, archiecomics.com to, stay connected with all our new material and the classic comics and everything else new coming out. There's so much on that website that I'm proud of, and people really eat it up. It's a great place to visit.
So one more time, your email and then your Twitter.
Twitter, I got it.
Oh, I think isn't it Twitter? I think I have it in my notes. It's Nancy, and then it's EDU speaker. So at Nancy EDU for education, I assume EDU speaker. So at Nancy EDU speaker. So if you're on Twitter, I know many of you are, at Nancy EDU speaker, and of course her website is www.archiecomics.com, and then also the email address. You said if they wanted to email you about a specific, maybe a future, or
yes,
or even comment on Scarlett.
Receiving Scarlett through PayPal, nancy.archiecomics@gmail.com. nancy.archiecomics@gmail.com.
Nancy, it's always such a pleasure to have you. And I thank you for all that you're doing to, again, touch these amazing topics and have people have conversations, look at life through different viewpoints. And as you said, I'm so thankful for all the years that you did teach. And I'm excited and thank you for being brave enough to be co-CEO now of Archie Comics and taking on a whole new adventure as you continue in this role. Thank you, Nancy.
Well, zam, wham, wow to you, Jennifer, and to all of your listeners. Have a fabulous week.
Thank you, Nancy. And we'll be back after the break with more of the Jennifer Hammond Show.
This is the Jennifer Hammond Show on SiriusXM UrbanView.